All right. So, welcome to another episode of the Anime Match Cut podcast. I am your humble host, Jack. With me, as always, is my wonderful co host.
Ryu, what's up? I'm back. Took me a million years to wake up from my nap, but I'm here.
All right. Okay. So, we got quite an episode for you guys today. So, let's get started with some movie news. So, I think like the one big movie news item that happened since the last time that we recorded is the Mario movie finally got its trailer released.
Yes, Jack Black was beautiful.
Yeah, Jack.
I didn't know I can be attracted to a lizard.
What the fuck? Yeah. So the new Mario movie we finally saw the trailer for the Mario movie. Illumination and Nintendo have finally released some footage of what the movie's gonna look like.
It looks fantastic.
It looks really great. The designs and the animation really surprised me. It seemed like they really did put in some effort and some good hard-earned money into that animation.
Better than the movie we shall never name live action.
Yeah, the other one.
Yes.
But actually, this actually looks good for an Illumination movie. This actually looks much better than like Sing or Secret Life of Pets or any of the other crap that they've done in the past.
You could tell that they really put the elbow grease on this one.
And you can also really tell that they had like a very committed business partner in Nintendo, because I feel like Nintendo wouldn't let them half-ass this job like with some of the other movies they made.
Also, Nintendo really wanted a good Mario movie from the past movies that didn't do that well because it didn't came out good, it didn't look right, or because of it didn't like fit. It didn't really fit in what they were wanting in the first place. So they really like got all hands deep into this project just to make sure it looks perfect, which was 100% a good idea to do so because it looks amazing on the trailer.
Yeah, I really like the attention to detail on the textures. Mario looks really good. Bowser, I think, looks amazing. I'm really glad that they put in like a lot of detail into like his scales and his hair and all the spikes on his shell. He looks really awesome, and the fire too. The fire looks really good.
When he shoots his mouth to the gate.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I'm really glad that they're really going for this a very menacing Bowser.
You know what was funny when you were fighting the penguins in that trailer? The first thing that came pop in mind on the original Mario 64 game, and then on the original Nintendo 64 game of Mario, the first thing that came to my mind was when we were in that icy world, when Mario picks up the penguin and goes to the edge to toss him. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw the penguins. It was like, oh no, Mario's gonna grab a penguin and toss him in the edge.
Yeah, because interesting that you mentioned that, because the final shot of the trailer is Luigi running from a bunch of dry bones.
Oh, I actually have something of that. I actually went through the comments.
Let me just finish my thought.
Yeah, go.
It really seems that they are like incorporating just like so many parts of the Mario universe, and they're gonna reference like a lot of games. So Mario 64 and then Dry Bones. So I feel like we're gonna get like a good love letter to the games. But go ahead with your observations.
So for me, I don't know if my co-host has done it, but for me, I went through the comments through that trailer, and there were like multiple trailers at different channels having the trailer out, and I went through each and every one of them. And the one thing that caught my eye on one of the trailer, on the original trailer of the movie that was released on, in the bottom, there was a comment saying, "Oh, I cannot wait to see which version of Luigi from their games they're gonna have him play." Because in every game, Luigi is a different character. Luigi is scared with a super scared in one game. He's super brave in the other. He's somewhat scared and brave at the same time.
Yeah.
He's also very intelligent in one of the other games. So we don't know which version of Luigi we're gonna get, or we're gonna get all of them combined.
And we don't know like which version of like Mario or Peach that we're gonna get. We have a pretty good idea of what kind of Bowser we're gonna get, but as for the other characters, we don't know exactly what their personalities are also gonna be like.
Yeah, but the only one thing that really took my eye, they were not concerned about Peach or not concerned about Mario.
Yeah, there was
the only thing they were concerned was what personality Luigi's gonna have, because Luigi had multiple personalities in different games.
Because I feel like Luigi is probably like the one character in the Marvel not the Marvel.
The Marvel universe. What?
The Mario Nintendo universe who's gone through like the most development. because at the start Luigi was just like, he was just player 2. He was just a carbon copy of Mario. But as the game started giving the characters more personalities, they sort of adopted this sort of like this cowardly character to him. But as the games, as many years go by with the games, we've seen like a lot of development with Luigi as a character. So he's not always like the same thing as like you look at Mario, he's basically the same character since the beginning, or you look at Bowser, he's basically the same as the beginning with like little tweaks here and there.
So that's all I want to know as well. Like, what kind of version of Luigi are we gonna get from this movie?
Yeah,
because for me, I love Luigi more than Mario. Every Super Mario Party game or any Smash games I play, I always go for Luigi and fight with him or play as him, because Luigi is my favorite character out of the Mario brothers.
Yeah, Luigi definitely is a very interesting character. So let's talk a little bit about the voices. I know that you mentioned Jack Black, but we got to talk about the elephant in the room.
Ah, yes, Chris Pratt.
Mario himself, Chris Pratt. So
yes.
So I know that Chris Pratt received a lot of hate and a lot of controversy when Nintendo announced that he would be voicing Mario.
Yes. A lot of it, actually.
And actually, in an interview, I think last year, before we even got any kind of footage, he stated that he was going to do something completely different for Mario. Like, it wasn't going to be like the voice in the video game, but also a lot of people were expecting him to like bring his own interpretation. But unfortunately, from what we've heard in the trailer, he's just doing his regular voice. What do you think about that?
Well, when I saw the trailer, when Mario first said those lines saying Mushroom Kingdom, I was expecting, here we go, like we were normal, but let's go, like that's the one thing I was waiting. But he said, here we come.
Yeah,
he says, here we come. It doesn't sound right. For me, when I heard it, I was like, that doesn't sound right. But okay, just leave it how it is. It's okay. It would have been better if we hear Mushroom Kingdom, let's go.
Yeah, because I don't know what to expect with the voices, because you can obviously tell that Jack Black is really trying to he's really trying to make a voice for Bowser. Like he is trying. He doesn't sound like, for example, he doesn't sound like Po from the Kung Fu Panda movies. He's doing a more menacing voice.
Yeah, but it kind of sounds like he's like trying, because in the end it's like, I finally found it, but it sounds like perfect. But when he yells out, who's gonna stop me, you can hear Jack Black just come right in. Well, yeah, because he can't really mask his voice because he's not really that kind of a voice actor. But also that's true. But I also do like to give some props to the actor who's playing Toad. Toad is being played by a comedian named Keegan-Michael Key, who some of you might remember from the TV show Key and Peele. And he's really good at coming up with voices. So Keegan-Michael Key is actually doing a Toad type voice. So he is speaking in that high pitch voice that Toad is known for. Even though it's not the exact same, he's actually trying to sound like the original character in some ways, which also leads me to think like, how is Peach gonna sound? Is Peach just gonna sound like a normal 20-year-old girl, or is she gonna sound like her character? Like what direction are they gonna go for? Because it's obvious. Mario, help! Yeah, because it's obvious that some voice actors like Jack Black and Keegan-Michael Key, they're trying to, create a voice, do something a little bit over the top and in character, while Chris Pratt is just doing Chris Pratt. Yeah, because I don't think Bowser ever had a voice line where he just talks normally. It's always in tech. Well, he did have a few lines in Mario Sunshine at the end. Oh, yeah, he did. I forgot about Mario Sunshine. Yeah, because Mario Sunshine was like the one video game where they actually gave a lot of characters some lines. And actually in the Japanese version, Mario actually has full lines of dialogue, but for the American release, they took it out. Yeah, they took it out. I guess maybe Nintendo's reasoning is that, if they feel like if the character is too much of their own character, maybe kids won't see themselves as the character that they're playing. I don't know, but yeah, so
I don't know. The voices might need a little bit of work, but I think it might be too late for them to change any of the voices.
Well, they
Mhm.
can edit it before they actually
They
edit,
could.
deepen the voice a little bit.
Maybe because also what I think also that the movie is still being worked on because that last shot of Mario as he's jumping on the mushrooms, the voice sounds so disconnected. Like it doesn't sound like it's part of the scene. What they probably did is they probably took another take, probably like in the movie, he probably doesn't say like anything like when he's jumping on the mushrooms. They probably took that from a different shot or a different take and they edited it onto that shot because it felt very sort of like out of place to me.
Yeah, so that you just lead it towards from the theories of what
Uh-huh.
people think because of it. One of the theories I saw is saying that there is not done. They just
Yeah.
had that clip somewhere and they just added on it just to fool the fan, saying that the Chris Pratt is not saying the words right, but in reality, people are also thinking, wait, they probably just add that just to make us all nervous and scared,
Mhm.
saying, making it seem that Chris Pratt hasn't done the original "Let's go" thing. But in
Mm.
reality, they probably in the actual movie he actually did say the line, but it's just a retake of what he said, trying to when he's trying to practice the lines more. It's
Mhm.
from multiple clips of him actually getting into character.
Mm.
And they just took that one and just added into the trailer.
I
There's a
don't-
lot of theories everyone's going to add in
I
the
don't know.
internet
I
saying
don't-
that it's not the actual line or it's
Mm.
from just one of the takes or whatever.
I don't know. I don't think Chris Pratt would do like a fake Italian voice. I just don't think he's that kind of an actor. And also I don't think that maybe Illumination and Nintendo, they probably don't want to do the stereotypical Italian voice because they probably don't want to get in trouble with anybody.
Well,
Because
how is it supposed to get in trouble?
well,
The
because-
original Mario
well,
the
it
original
is
voice
true.
for Mario. So the original Mario
Mhm.
voice actor created his own Mario, how it sounds. So
Mhm.
that's where we're so used to. It's me, a Mario, yahoo!
Yeah, it might be-
Let's go.
It might be
Here
just,
we go.
yeah. It might be just one of those cases where like because Mario has been in the past criticized for being somewhat of an Italian stereotype.
He's an Italian, Mexican, and what was the third one? He was an Italian, Mexican, and something else.
Like I don't know, but I'm just mentioning that some people have criticized Mario in the past for being a stereotype, but this also might be another kind of like Speedy Gonzalez type controversy.
When
Because-
when he took him out and then brought him right back because Mexicans say
Yeah,
that was
because-
a bad choice.
Yeah, because it could be another Speedy Gonzalez type controversy where like, you know, it's one group of people saying that this one thing is offensive, but the group of people that should be offended aren't offended. But who knows? Maybe, but again, they could be trying to save their ass because Space Jam 2 didn't include Pepe Le Pew because they thought Pepe Le Pew is too controversial to be shown to modern audiences. But
Boo on that.
yeah, so
He was my favorite character from the Looney
what the
Tunes.
fuck? That's a red flag there, my boy.
It's supposed to be a joke because he's really like, ooh, like grabby.
Yeah.
It's a joke, okay, guys? It's a joke. Don't take it serious. Jesus, I'm a reptile myself.
Okay. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see how the voice comes out because I'm definitely gonna see the Mario movie when it comes out.
Oh,
so.
we should both watch it, and then after that, we just make a little mini series.
I also kind of want to do a review of the original one from the 90s, kind of like to compare it.
Oh no!
Because I truly feel that this because of Nintendo's involvement, because Nintendo really didn't have that much involvement in the
past
original
movies,
one.
yeah.
So with Nintendo's like support and involvement in this new one, we'll see how their
good.
influence on the movie is going to come out. Like how's that going to come out in terms of how the movie is presented. So
The one thing I
Yeah.
do want to see in this movie is the Bullet Bills.
Bullet Bills.
The Bullet Bills, yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to see how they play because in the Bullet Bills in the game,
I-
you see them shaking their hands up and down and falling and trying to hit you. In the movie, I want to see how they will show them,
Yeah.
like, because in some games the Bullet Bill has a mouth, some games it's just a
Mhm.
smile and just with eyes just following you.
Mhm.
I wonder what version of them they're gonna do, like the one with they have an actual mouth,
Yeah.
or one that's just a sticker smiling, just following them with the hands go checking up and down, like I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah. So that's actually you actually bring up a very interesting point. Like how many Mario enemies are we gonna see in this
Oh yeah,
movie?
Chain Chomp. We don't know if they're gonna show Chain Chomp,
Thwomp.
The Thromp, yeah.
Charging Chuck.
Chucking Chuck. Oh my God, yes, Chucking Chuck.
Yeah, the football player.
Yes, I love
The
that.
Goombas. Are we gonna see the Goombas?
Of course,
I
there's
know.
the Koopas there. There has to be the Goombas as well.
Yeah, because we are definitely gonna get the Koopas because did
He
you
is
notice
the Koopa King.
Yeah, did you notice that one of the Koopas is different from the others?
Yes, I did. It has the soft shell except for that green shell we have.
And there's also like a an eye patch one as well.
Oh yeah, he's probably because he's the captain of the Koopas.
And then we also have Kamek. Kamek is also probably gonna be a big part of the movie.
Yeah, because he's the one like introducing the Koopa King. Boom.
Yeah. But also, like, I also think, like, are they gonna choose certain villains because they're easier to make into toys? Because I have a feeling that because I have a feeling that before the movie comes out, they're Nintendo's gonna release probably like a line of like toys, and so some characters are probably easier to make into toys. Like I can definitely see people buying like a Koopa Troopa.
Yep.
Bullet Bill. I don't know if Bullet Bill might be the easiest one to convert into like an action figure or something.
Well, it's just gonna be a bullet with hands and with a mouth, and that's it.
Maybe like in a play set or something, you know, maybe if like, you know, they sell like Mario action figures and then they create like a play set where you have to run away from like a Bullet Bill or something. So we'll see.
Yeah.
They could always do plushies. Plushies are very easy.
Oh yeah, plushies for the bullet. Yes, plushies for the bullet. That would be much better than a toy.
Because I also wonder like what kind of merchandise they're also going to come out with. Like, are we going to get like a Bowser like airship? Are we going to get Princess Peach's castle?
Well, one thing I think for sure, we're gonna definitely get the plushies of all the characters.
Oh yeah,
that's 100%. We're gonna get the plushies of every character.
Yep.
Not every single character, but we're gonna get the main characters.
Yeah,
that's 100%. But for the toy sets, like for like Legos, the dolls and everything, we're definitely gonna get Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, and whoever was more in the movie.
Yeah. Also but also I just thought of something. How do you think the movie's gonna handle the power-ups?
Oh, that's right.
Because they didn't show any power-ups, so it makes me wonder: what power-ups are they going to show? Are they just going to stick with the mushroom? Are they going to include the fire flower? Are they going to save other power-ups for a different sequel? Are we not going to get the cape or the Tanuki Mario?
Okay, I have two paths I think they're gonna take. I think they're gonna go with the original Game Boy Mario, where they have the feather, the mushroom, the flower. And the what's the other one? The boot.
Mushroom, feather, flower, boot. Yeah.
I think they're gonna go with the original game because they're trying to rebrand Mario, it seems, in this movie. Yeah. So the best option for them to do is use the items for their first Mario game, like in the Game Boy, where Power-Ups was introduced, except for the flying cap and all that.
Yeah, because also I'm thinking like you can't use too many items, like you can't introduce too many of them in the story.
It's not too many. Because if the reason why I chose
Mario
those
has like so many items.
Yes, I know.
But he has like different caps and he can turn into Metal Mario.
That is true, but I'm saying like in this story, I have a feeling that Mario's only gonna need those items I mentioned because one, in the first game, when Mario finally fights Bowser, he fights him while he's flying. And I have a feeling Mario, in a way, needs to use the feather, use it on himself, and he's able to fly up to him. Yeah. And for the fire flower, the icy area, the icy land, he will need the fire flower for that one. The mushroom is probably when he gets damaged and he's like trying to figure out how to like get big again, and he finally sees the mushrooms out of there and he eats one of them. But there's a giant group of them. It's like, ooh, these are actually useful, and we see him putting a bunch of them in his pocket. Yeah, and just see him like in a segment of him getting damaged and him reviving himself over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I mentioned, like, you know, like the Sonic movie, they didn't introduce Super Sonic like in the very first movie. Like you kind of have to like save certain things for the sequel.
I know, but that's why I only mentioned the feather, the mushroom,
but
fire flower,
but those
and
are
the
like
boot.
But those are like the most basic ones. Like I'm also thinking
exactly.
Like there's one where Mario becomes a penguin and he can slide on ice. There's one that makes him really big, really small. There's so many different items in the Marvel. I mean, why do I keep saying Mario? In the Mario
in the Nintendo
games.
Universe.
Yeah.
So the reason why I say those is because that they want to just ease the power-ups in this world and just make sequels. That's what they will do. Just they add the basic classic ones
Yeah.
in the first one, and then the second one they add a bunch of more, 10 times or double the amount of the items, which Mario later on figures out which one is best in the situation, and we see him learning how to use each power up because he's already knows the original ones because of the first movie. Then when the second movie comes out, he's now introduced new power-ups when he goes to a different land, or they introduce a new different land, because in the Mario games, there's always a new different land with new different abilities.
Yeah.
And different pipes, different everything. So in the second movie, they probably will do exactly that. They add all the new power-ups of this new different land. And then Mario just goes around talking to Luigi. Oh, what do you think this power one does? And Luigi's like little scared and cautious, like, I don't know, Mario. He's probably make us huge, or probably give us a weird power up that we had to make sure we don't get hit, or we can only be able to use it in a certain region. It's like, that's why I only add the basic we only know, because that will be good for the first movie. But if they want to add something else from the other power-ups, from not saving them for the second or third movie, they can also add it in as well. But the basics ones I mentioned is the most common one that we always use in the games.
All right, so let's wrap up this discussion. One last question I have for you.
All right, go for it.
Obviously, if the Mario movie is successful, it's gonna get a sequel.
Yes,
but
definitely.
If the Mario movie is such a success, what other Nintendo property do you want to see a movie of, or maybe even like a television show of?
Samus.
Samus? Metroid?
Yeah, Metroid. And because I played the original Metroid game.
Yeah.
And then when I finally found out that she was a woman, I was like, power to women. Let's go. She a badass. Let's go. Because when I play her, I always keep saying, like, damn, Metro, you a badass, bro. You a homie. Let's go. Let's kick some more ass, bro. And then when I found out he was a woman, like, let's go, woman power. Let's kick some ass. Show those thighs. Squeeze them.
Oh, my God. All right.
I love Samus as a character. She's a badass mercenary. And I play all of the Metroid games, every single one of them. And I love the story, how she's a badass mercenary. She was a soldier first, and then she got into to become a mercenary, and she has like a dark past and why she's chasing this specific creature down to kill it.
Yeah.
I really love it. So if the Mario movie is a great success, I hope they go to Metroid next. Because Metroid is my second favorite character from the Nintendo series, where they show a badass gunner. Because in their past Metroid games, I really love the recent one that was on the Wii, the Wii, where you use the nunchucks to point and shoot Metroid's gun in a different mode. I really love that version because it had like very good design, very good effects. And it shows like the gun, like her blaster, very high metal detail.
Yeah.
That I really, really love that. So if this Mario movie succeeds, I hope they go to Metroid next for the next character to make it into a movie.
Sounds great. It sounds like it has like a lot of potential.
Oh my God, I would love to see that. I would love to see her going through childhood, seeing the whole past, and then she's fighting in the soldiers, and then at the end of the movie she becomes a mercenary, and then we get a second sequel of her finally finding Ridley and starts fighting her in this abandoned laboratory where they finally found Ridley from the games. I would love to see that happen. I can even see it in my head of Metroid going in, saying her lines, giving witty quips, and attacking Ridley, and also talking to the Metapod, where the Metapod became her little pet or son or daughter, whatever. And it's just, oh my God, I can see all the monsters in great detail too. It's so great. I want to see her in a movie.
You know what my choice would be?
What?
Zelda.
That one too. Zelda's also, well, technically Link. His name is Link, but the games are Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah. I could see them doing, say, like a
Breath of the Wild kind of thing.
Also with like, with the popularity of Game of Thrones on like HBO and like the Rings of Power.
The Knights.
The
Knight eras.
With the Rings of Power on Amazon, I can definitely see like some streaming service, choosing Zelda to be like their sort of like Game of Thrones type show.
Oh, that would be cool. If they do a movie, I hope they do it like Breath of the Wild, because that game was
Mhm.
good with their story back, like past sequences of seeing the past of history. If they do a movie of Zelda, they should reference it from Breath of the Wild of him coming awake and saving the kingdom.
It's a good place to start for a
Yes.
story, definitely. So yeah, so if Mario becomes successful, I definitely would like a Zelda one.
If
Uh,
Mario was successful, I hope Metroid get a movie as well.
and maybe, if they want to go the universe route, maybe we can get Smash Brothers.
Yes, and they all come together and fight each other for no reason, and then they figure out why they're fighting each other, and then
Mhm.
go attack the Master Hand instead.
Yep.
Oh my god, that would be good too. No, since they're doing the Mario, they should have every single character have their story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, technically, Kirby really has the story. He has a TV series already.
Yeah, but it's not like connected to like this Mario movie.
I know, but if they want to refine that and just make it into a movie, they can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they first, before the Super Smash ever even gets out of their lips, they should get each and every character that involved the Smash universe their own consecutive movies, and then after all their first movie shows up, they make all of them again, second movie, and then hints, references like cameos, like and in the scene clips of them meeting each other for the first time, and that leads towards the Smash universe, the Smash where all the characters are together in one.
Yep.
I cannot wait to see that.
Well, we already had like a Pokemon movie with Detective Pikachu.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like all the other characters like Donkey Kong,
Yeah.
Fox, Falco.
We forgot to mention Donkey Kong is supposed to be in this Mario movie, voiced by Seth Rogen. You know the let's smoke some weed.
Yeah, I know. Hey, who wants to play? No, that's Fat Albert.
That's Fat
Never
Albert.
mind.
No,
Yeah,
Seth Rogen's a white dude.
Yeah, he's a white dude. Yeah, so I
yeah.
cannot wait to have every single character have their own movie or be in a spin-off of another movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of villains are in the other movies.
Yeah.
Of their characters, so they can be in spin-offs as well, or be the villains of their hero, like how Falco and Fox are the rivals of Wolf.
Yeah.
In their own universe, that can also be an introduction of them.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't need to make a second movie focusing on them. They can just have a little spin-off of them always fighting each other or whatever.
Yeah.
Like Zelda and Ganondorf.
So yeah, I mean, it really depends on how well this Mario movie does. If it does well, we can definitely maybe see like a bright future of video game movies coming out, because if video game movies keep doing well, they might replace the superhero movie genre as like the top grossing genre right now.
Well, it's already succeeding with Sonic.
Yeah, but they're not doing like end game numbers. They got to do like end game box office in order to overtake them.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like they're already having a successful movies of Sonic, somewhat good.
You know what I find interesting about that is that Sonic already has 2 movies out, but the Pokemon movies, there haven't been a sequel since that first one, and I thought the first one did quite well in the theaters. So it's very interesting. I don't know, who knows what's going to happen with that, but I just find it so interesting that Sonic, from a company that doesn't even have their own consoles anymore, is doing much better than Pokemon. And Pokemon was such a big thing when I was a kid. Sonic too, but I think definitely Pokemon overshadowed Sonic in the 2000s. Okay, so I think that's enough for the Mario movie. All
right, let's go.
All right, so today's episode, we are going to be reviewing the 1997 Paul Thomas Anderson classic, Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights is the story of a character named Eddie Adams, who works in a nightclub as a 17-year-old high school dropout. He at the beginning of the movie, he meets a character played by Burt Reynolds named Jack Horner, who is a producer of porno movies in the 1970s. As the movie goes along, Eddie Adams becomes more acquainted with people who work with Jack and the people who are going to be his co-stars. He forms a bromance with a character named Reed, who is played by a young John C. Reilly. As the 70s continues on, we see Eddie Adams, now named Dirk Diggler, Dirk Diggler receive a lot of success through his porno acting, but by the end of the 70s, tragedy happens at a New Year's party, and everything starts to go downhill for our characters. The industry starts shifting away from filming the movies on film onto videotape, which is a lower quality format. Dirk Diggler becomes addicted to drugs and can no longer, quote unquote, perform in the porno movies. And then a lot of the other characters go through their own tragedies and woes, trying to find their place in the world after their run in porno movies. So this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Boogie Nights shares a lot of similarities with another favorite movie of mine, Goodfellas. Just like Goodfellas, the movie has a very distinct filmmaking style and editing style. Both movies tell their stories using a lot of period appropriate songs, and also the camera work in both movies. The cinematography has a lot of energy, and the camera is always moving, follows every character, and this is one of my favorites. So my co-host, what did you think of Boogie Nights?
It was a very interesting movie. I actually learned a lot from this.
Oh yeah.
Ironically, I learned something I didn't know that he did before we are what we're used to for today.
Yeah, because this movie really captures mostly Southern California. It really captures Southern California in the 1970s very well, down to like the costumes that the characters wear, the music that they listen to, and just like the kind of like even like the technology around them, because technology plays an important part in this movie. So like I was saying, technology plays an important part in this movie, down to like the equipment that they use to film the pornos. What did you feel that you learned from this movie now that you mentioned that?
Well, one thing is I thought porno was just like, oh hi, what's up, and then just and that's it. But no, in the old times they tried to make it into like a story before it goes to the whole of the business. It was very interesting to find out that they did that, because what we're used to is just like, oh hi step bro, I'm stuck, and just and that's it. But in reality, they had like names they go by, they have like story they follow, characters, action stuff, and all of that. And the most bizarre thing that brought into me is that they had names. The porn stars had porn star names. Like this guy, the main character we follow is Doug Diggler. Yeah, Dirk Diggler. He changed his own name and called himself Doug Diggler.
Yeah, because at the beginning of the movie, his real name, his government name is Eddie Adams.
Yes.
And as he becomes more acquainted into this world of 70s pornography, they encourage him to change his name, because every character has like their own name. For example, there's a character who's played by Julianne Moore. Her name is Amber Waves. But really, as we find out later in the movie, her actual name is Maggie. Amber Waves is not her
actual name. It's just her porn star name.
Yeah, and there's also another character named Roller Girl, who's a very iconic character from this movie.
Yeah, and they know her as is Roller Girl,
because she always wears roller skates, and that's kind of her character's thing.
And like, there's one scene where Adams was rehearsing in front of the producer for the porno, and he told her to have the business with him, and when he said you have to have the roller skates on, and she said to him, the skate stays on.
Yeah, they never come off.
They never come off.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, she's sticking to her character. Yeah, good for her.
That's just like her thing. And every character sort of has like their little gimmicks that makes them very memorable. Because there also is another character. His name is Buck Swope. Buck Swope is played by a young Don Cheadle, who some of you might know him
Ah,
from the Marvel movies.
yeah.
He plays War Machine, but this is one of his earlier
You mean
roles.
Iron Patriot?
Or Iron Patriot, War Machine, but you guys know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Don Cheadle. So this is one of Don Cheadle's first roles that got him any recognition, and so his thing is that he's kind of like the misfit of the group because he's really into like country western and cowboy fashion. So he's really into that kind of like that kind of identity. But like a lot of people, they're not really grooving with his what he's all about because it's the 70s and being
Yeah.
like all country western is not cool in the 70s because it was
Yeah.
all about disco and funk and all that kind of stuff. And so he's
Mhm.
he's kind of like a misfit of the group. And so throughout the whole movie, he's trying to find like his identity.
Which he does
yeah.
in the movie, which he does.
Yeah. Also, there's John C. Reilly. John C. Reilly, he plays Dirk Diggler's best friend Reed. His little gimmick is that he's a magician. He does magic tricks, and so throughout the movie, you see him kind of like do like all these like little magic tricks, even though it's not like at the forefront of every scene. That's
He
kind of
does it. He does it as an introduction with other people.
yeah, and it's his little gimmick. But also, what I like about the movie is the relationships that everybody has with each other. So let's start first with one of like the most important character relationships is the one of Eddie Adams / Dirk Diggler and Jack Horner, the producer. So at the beginning of the movie, so the movie starts with a really cool opening shot. So the movie opens with like a one take long shot of the camera just following all the characters through this night, and we basically meet almost every important character throughout this first scene. But the two most important characters that we meet are Jack Horner, who's the producer who directs and produces all of these porno movies in the San Fernando Valley. And then he meets this busboy working at the club, played by Mark Wahlberg. His name is Eddie Adams. And Eddie Adams is a 17-year-old high school dropout who's working all these kinds of jobs. And his night job is working at a nightclub.
As a kitchen
yeah.
cleaner.
And so Jack sees this guy bussing tables, and he sees that, oh, he's a good-looking kid. Let's check him out. So he introduces himself to him, and they start hitting off, and they start kind of like hitting off. They connect. They connect, and once Jack sort of starts becoming a father figure to Eddie, you really see a bond forming between them, which is a bond that's later broken later in the film, but it gets rekindled.
Yeah,
by the
rekindled
end.
and it came back together.
So what did you think of Dirk Diggler and Jack Horner's relationship?
It was very like close. Like when he first introduced and he got invited to his house party,
Mhm.
he just like shows him off like, hey, this is the new blood in the streets.
Yeah.
This is gonna be the start of the show now.
Yeah.
And they show reasons why he is the start of the show, which they
Yeah.
didn't show it until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I am not gonna spoil what they show.
Yeah. So let's just also mention this. So Dirk Diggler, he has one special talent that is very important if you want to be a successful porn actor. He has one really big asset. Let's just leave it at that.
Very one big asset that makes him very popular, and he got all these rewards from in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, but one thing, when he was showing them off, it's like, all right, show what you got. Like show what I chose you for. He shows them why he got chosen. Like, wow, all right then, all good.
Yeah.
That's why you chose him. All right, cool. And then their whole thing, when they were having the conversation of all the scripts and everything, Doug Diggler tells him, hey, can I do this way or can I do it this way? And he's like, yeah, go for it. Like, go.
Yeah,
like,
he's very encouraging to Eddie.
Yeah, he just shows like he's like the new father figure.
Yeah.
That he wanted but never got.
Yeah, because it's very interesting. Their relationships, like you mentioned to him that Jack Horner is he's very supportive of Dirk Diggler because Dirk comes to him with ideas for like movie scenes and movie scripts. Yeah, like he's very encouraging because it's obviously something that Dirk in his real life he never got, because we actually do get a few scenes of Dirk in his home life, and we see that at home, like his mom is very emotionally abusive. She's always criticizing him. she's unhappy with the fact that he dropped out of high school, and she thinks that he's an idiot. And his dad has no control over that household. His dad really doesn't have like any kind of like, his dad basically isn't there, like in terms of like,
He
he
was
doesn't.
basically just the bank money, the money wallet person
Yeah.
that paying all the bills, while the wife just basically controls the son and abusively abuse him, emotionally and verbally.
Yeah, and
While
so
the father couldn't do nothing about it because he lost his control.
yeah, and so one of the key scenes in this movie that really cements Eddie Adams' transformation to Dirk Diggler is that there's a scene that right after so there's a scene at the beginning of the movie where Eddie Adams gets picked up by Jack, and he goes in a limo, and he goes over to Jack's house, and this is essentially the audition. So so Jack auditions Eddie Adams by him having sex with Roller Girl, to see how well he can perform. And so that scene ends with a shot of the camera moving closer into Jack, and Jack is sitting on a chair and he's smoking a cigar. And then that scene, it fades to the next scene at Eddie Adams's house, and we see his mom sitting on a chair, and she's also like smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, that tradition. Okay.
So we see that there's a parallel between where Jack where Dirk Diggler was and to where he's going. And so there's a parallel between the two scenes when they transition to each other. We see both of Dirk Diggler's parental figures sitting on a chair, one looking at him with pride because he sees that he's performing well.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when we cut to his other house, his mom is angry. She's waiting for him to come back, and she's furious at him. And then we have like this very intense scene in their household where he has this argument with his mom, and his mom will just not stop insulting him, saying that he's stupid and that he'll never amount to anything. And Mark Wahlberg actually gives a good performance in the scene, because you can really feel like the sadness and the anger in his voice, because he tells his mom, "You don't know what I can do. You don't know I'm good at things. I'm gonna be somebody." And he's like almost to tears. And I really haven't seen Mark Wahlberg really act this way in any of his other movies, like showing like this kind of like vulnerability or like this kind of emotion. He does a really good job there, but it's also a very intense scene because he's begging his mom, "Stop being mean to me, stop saying these things." But his mom is like gaslighting him, telling him, "No, you're just too stupid. You're too stupid to know that I'm not being mean at you." And it's like, oh my God, this is like heartbreaking. And then he ends up like running out of the house, and his mom follows him, but she stops at the door. And also, if you notice, like when she slams the door closed, it cuts to the next scene that it cuts to. It's Jack at his house opening the door for Eddie. So it kind of symbolizes like,
when one door closes, another door opens.
Yeah. And it's sort of like, like that's the old Eddie. This is the new Eddie. He's being accepted into this whole different world. And Jack opens the door and he's smiling. And then in the next shot, he has his arm over Eddie. Because in the last scene, his mom is yelling at him, being abusive. But in the next scene, you sort of see Jack being like a father figure to him, embracing him with open arms, basically. And you can really see how a character like Eddie would be like seduced into like joining this world. Because yeah, like he sort of found like a new family. And I really like that. And I really like those little details in the story where you see character's motivation, and they tell it using filmmaking. Like they don't have to like outwardly tell you, they tell you through like the acting and the editing and the camera work, which is really good.
And one thing you haven't mentioned is when they were having the argument, him and the mother, the father, we could cut to the father for like 10 seconds.
Yeah,
and him just sitting in the bed going, shaking his head.
Yeah, because
not even getting involved, and you
he can't do anything.
Yeah, and you see he was smiling a little bit, like, okay.
Yeah, because
so this is how it's gonna be, like kind of thing.
Yeah, because he can't really do anything. Like it seems like he has like no sort of like authority like in that household. He can't tell his wife, to like, to leave his son alone. Like he's basically losing his son, but he's not doing anything to like
To do about it.
yeah.
It's
So
basically spineless.
but also one thing that's interesting about like the movie is that later on in the movie when Dirk is at his lowest after he's been through all the shit that he's been through, instead of going back to his parents' house, he goes back to Jack to reconcile. Like
Yeah.
that's the family he wants to go back to after
Yeah,
all the stuff that he goes through.
So after he leaves his own home, we never get a hint of him going back
No.
or reconciling with them at all.
Yeah.
But we saw the entire movie to point A to point B, and nothing showed that he went back to his parents
No.
at all. Nothing showed of him even reconciling with them or going back to them or helping them with medical bills or anything.
Yeah.
He disconnected with them.
It disconnected with them completely. Yeah. So we never see the mom or the dad after that one scene because we don't really need to, because the movie really isn't about that. But afterwards, so at the party we meet other characters, and some other characters that I really find interesting. Well, one character that I do find interesting is during the first half of the movie, there's this character named Little Bill, who is the assistant director / producer of the porno movies, who works with Jack on the production of the movies. And so he's an important character in the first half of the movie, but his sort of like gimmick or the thing that makes him memorable is that he has a wife who constantly cheats on him.
Oh my god, yes, the porn star.
Yeah, so Little Bill is played by this wonderful actor named William H. Macy, who's a good character actor, and so he plays like this sort of like pathetic assistant director who helps Jack make the movies on set. But the thing about him is that he has this wife who's played by an actual porn star named Nina Hartley, who actually very recently just retired from the industry. I think as of 2021, I think was her last year as a working actress in porn. So his wife is played by Nina Hartley, an actual porn star, and every scene that we see his wife in, she's always fucking some dude.
Yeah,
she's always
saying, "Don't embarrass me." Can you go get me something?
Like
she just don't care.
She doesn't care. She tells Bill to like, oh, Bill, close the fucking door, go sleep on the couch, or Bill, don't embarrass me. Even though literally she's embarrassing him because she's fucking around with all these dudes.
Yeah, but one thing in the movie industry, they cannot actually do it. They had to show by performance.
Oh yeah.
But when my co-hosts were explaining to me during the movie, because we paused certain things because I was confused in some things because I'm really not into the movie thing, the whole how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
But because he explained it to me, they are not supposed to connect at all.
Yeah, so there's certain rules on a movie set that you are not allowed to do when filming a sex scene. So usually films, it's a closed set, so only like the people that are supposed to be there are allowed to be on set for the privacy of the actors. Also, if you are being nude on camera, you have to cover up your genitals with either like for men, they have to wear a flesh-colored sock to cover up their their organ, and then women, they have to wear like a patch over their they have to wear a patch over their private parts. And so that way, no connection is ever made. And then also for sanitary reasons, nobody gets sick.
Exactly. But the one thing that you mentioned to me when we were talking about the porn star, my co-host mentioned that in one scene where they were doing that scene, the one rule is when the cameras are off, if you're doing a sex scene, you're supposed to cover up.
Yes, that's the rule that I was gonna get to.
Yeah, and then when he told me the porn artist, the actress, did not wear any clothes because she's so comfortable at just having it out.
Yeah, so
she went out and eat some snacks at the food court.
Yeah,
without a cloak, and everyone was just uncomfortable. But for her, it was completely normal.
Yeah,
and when I finally found out, I was like, "Wait, what?
Yeah,
really? Really? That's normal? Okay, then."
So there's a story after they were done shooting a certain scene. Nina Hartley was supposed to cover up with a robe because that's just standard when you're filming a sex scene in a Hollywood movie. You have to cover up once the cameras stop rolling. And so there's a story of her going off to the craft service table to get something to eat, and she's still nude, and that's like a no in professional Hollywood movies. Also, there was a rumor that she tried to have sex with one of the guys that she was performing, like in the movie, like they were gonna actually have sex, but I guess the producer or somebody, they stopped them, saying like, "Oh, no, 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 we can't have that, no, no, no." So yeah,
But I have
it
a
was pretty
feeling,
crazy.
like, I have a feeling that after hours, she probably just took him somewhere else and just did it, and then that story never got revealed.
Who
That's
knows?
that's my theory. I think she
Apparently-
actually did it.
Apparently, she had sex with Tupac Shakur,
Wow. Okay. Damn.
'Cause
She's been places.
because she was in a music video with him. But anyways, let's move on. But the character of Little Bill, he's part of one of the most memorable scenes in this movie, because this movie has sort of like a turning point. Do you remember, like in Goodfellas, that scene where they kill Billy Batts, the mafia guy,
Yes.
and that gets him into like a lot of trouble? So
Mhm.
there's a similar scene in this movie where it's New Year's Eve. It's going from 1979 to 1980, and
Yes, the end of the 70s. I remember the poster would say, "Goodbye 70s, hello 80s."
yeah, and then in this scene, like the scene ends with Little Bill coming to the party, finding out that his wife is doing it with some guy in a bedroom,
And then
leaves-
he just snapped. He snapped. He
Yeah.
walked out of the house,
and
went
it's
to
all
his
and it's all in one shot. The
yeah,
camera
all
never
in one
cuts.
shot. Yeah, never cut. So he just goes to the room, seen him did it, just walked out, went outside, went to his car, got something from his car, closed it, went right back in, cocked it up, and you know what I mean by clocked it up,
Mhm.
and then start shooting at both of them.
Yeah,
And in the end, everyone was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," because they heard the gunshots. And then he just shows up in front of them, just smiled, and like, and shoot himself.
and you know what's also kind of sad? Like that scene, that final shot of him before he shoots himself in the mouth and he smiles. I think that's the only time throughout the movie where that character actually smiles.
Yeah, because originally this producer is not smiling. He's always serious. He's going
Yeah,
like,
because
okay.
he's
He's always
thinking,
upset.
Yeah, he's always upset. He's always thinking about the logistics of the shoot. He's always thinking about, oh, what kind of equipment are we gonna get? There's actually a very funny scene during the party, the pool party, where like he finds out his wife is having sex with a guy in the driveway. He goes to confront her. She tells him to leave because she's embarrassing her. And then before the scene ends, he gets stopped by the camera guy, the guy who shoots the pornos.
Oh
for them.
yeah, and he's asking him questions, but
Yeah.
he told him that he's not in the
in the mood.
in the mood because his wife is having sex in the driveway.
Yeah, and William H. Macy fucks up a line. He says, "I can't think about the damn lighting of the movie while my wife has an ass in her cock." He fucked up the line. He was supposed to say, "I can't think about the lighting in the movie while my wife has a cock in her ass." But he fucks up the line. But they left it into the movie because he still gives a good performance even though.
And
he
also
switched
it
the
makes
line.
sense because he's being told something else and he's worrying about one of it.
Yeah.
And he messed up his words.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense when you're in that situation. You can't think straight. So it makes perfect sense that line was kept.
And there was also like a dark little joke at the end of that scene because when him and the camera guy finish their conversation, the camera guy just goes over to like the crowd of people to watch his wife get fucked by another guy.
Oh my god.
So yeah, let's talk about some other characters because this movie is an ensemble piece. It actually follows certain characters throughout the whole movie.
And they go through their lives. Some characters got married, some characters had babies, some characters fulfilled their long last
they actually
regrets. Some characters try to get something done but failed doing so.
Yeah. One of the other characters that I do want to briefly mention, even though we already kind of mentioned her early on, I want to talk a little bit about Roller Girl because so Roller Girl is played by an actress named Heather Graham, who some of you might remember from the Austin Powers movie, The Spy Who Shagged Me. So this is one of like her earlier roles that got her some recognition, and so she plays this character named Roller Girl, who we don't really know her name until like the end, where it's revealed her name is Brandy. So like her biggest like arc in the movie is her overcoming the fact that she is also a high school dropout, just like Eddie Adams. Early on in the movie, we see a scene where she's in a classroom taking a test. But while she's taking a test, she gets distracted by a guy who's sitting, because she's sitting in the back of the classroom, and we see a guy who's sitting more towards the front, and he's getting her attention, but he's making fun of her. He's making like all these kind of like suggestive, like he's pretending that like, he's sucking a dick because he's insinuating that he's seen her act in a porno, and he's making fun of her because she's a porno actress, and she gets offended and humiliated, and she storms. Well, she doesn't storm out. She literally rolls out.
Yeah,
rolls out of the classroom.
Autobots roll out.
Oh fuck! So she literally rolls out of the classroom, never to return. And we later find out that she never graduated through a conversation that she has with another character. And so,
but later on, she does goes. What's it called? The EMT.
So later in the movie, so at the end of the movie, we do find out that she does take her GED test.
GED, okay, GED. Did we know she passed? Because I don't remember if she passed or not.
At the end of the movie, it really doesn't say, but but since the movie does kind of have a happy ending, we could assume that she did pass the GED. Because actually, to be fair with you, the GED is one of the easiest tests that you can take. If like middle school type schoolwork, I think you'll pass the GED.
Oh, okay, cool.
So yeah, but one of her most important scenes in the movie is this scene later on where after the 1980s, so when the
you're talking about the limousine scene. Yes.
So let me just put into context this
whole
scene.
I'm gonna let you talk. Go.
So during the New Year's party, we get introduced to a new producer character, who's gonna help fund the movies, the porno movies, because in this movie we have these characters. One called the Colonel, and then there's another one that we meet in the New Year's party, and both these guys give money to Jack so that he can film and make the movies, because you need money to make these movies and to pay the actors and all that.
Yeah.
So we meet this new producer guy who's friends with the Colonel, but he wants to encourage Jack to start shooting on videotape, on VHS, instead of shooting on film, because VHS is a new technology that's much cheaper than to film on actual film.
The technology me and my co-hosts are used to seeing a lot before the DVDs and the consoles and the Netflix and all that.
Exactly. And so, but Jack doesn't like this idea because Jack thinks of himself as an artist. And because he's an artist, he wants to produce his work in like the best quality that he can. So to him, shooting his movies on 16 millimeter is much better than shooting them on videotape. But as the years go on and things just start getting worse and worse for them, by the end of the movie, they're shooting their movies on videotape, and because they're shooting on videotape, they end up doing this one scene where they're in a limousine, and Jack Horner, the producer, is with Roller Girl, and they're trying to do kind of like a bang bus situation where they're trying to invite guys off the streets to have sex with Roller Girl.
Well, technically, if you guys don't understand what he means, it's basically like a taxi sex taxi.
Or bang bus, if you depends on what you're familiar with.
Yeah, whatever you're familiar with. I'm giving another example that I see in memes and all that.
and I just know bang bus from
if you guys know any of that, that's what they're basically were trying to do with Roller Girl.
Yeah. So they're in this scene in this limousine, and they're gonna be doing this type of video. So they pick up this guy, this college guy, who's wearing a Letterman jacket, and they invite him in, and then we find out in this scene that it's the same guy from the high school
that made fun of her and everything.
Yeah, even though he has like a different haircut and like he's in college now, we know that this is the same guy because one, he mentions her by name. He was like, "Hey, do you remember you and me? We were in school together. I think your name is Brandy." And also, if you look up on IMDb or like the Wikipedia, you can see that it's the same actor who plays both the high school kid and the college guy. So they're the same character. And so when this guy mentions this to Roller Girl, she is like disgusted because it's almost like she's finding out that it's the same guy, and but also he's like bringing up her past. And we can tell that Roller Girl probably also, like Eddie Adams, like Dirk Diggler, she didn't have like a very good like home life, because there's a scene in the middle of the movie where she and another character, Amber Waves, are doing cocaine and they're getting high and they're being manic. And during their little episode, she's yelling at Amber, saying or begging Amber, can you please be my mom? Will you be my mom for me, please, please, please? And like and with that bit of dialogue, you can tell that Roller Girl probably didn't have like a good relationship with her parents.
Yep.
And
it's very sad, like in the beginning of the movie. It's really sad that once you get to know the characters, especially the characters that are still teenagers and still in high school, you could tell that around this year, their life is pretty shit with their parents mistreating them and everything.
Yeah. But
so it's like in this whole entire movie, they're trying to find replacements of their shitty parents. Like how Doug Taylor got a replacement father figure.
Yeah.
And then how Roller Girl got a replacement mother figure.
Yeah, but also what's different about Roller Girl is that her past sort of like caught up to her. Like Dirk, his past didn't really catch up to him, but hers did. And it manifests in this scene that we see in the limousine. And also so this scene also in a way, what am I trying to say? So this scene, the way that the scene ends is that the guy that they pick up, he can't perform well on camera. He's just like bad at sex. So Jack decides to kick him out of the limousine and tells and because they're kicking him off, he gets angry with both of them. He's like being mean to Roller Girl, saying like, oh, you could at least jack me off, you're leaving me with blue balls. And then he tells Jack, your movies suck anyways. But also him telling Jack that his movies suck anyways is also...
he's seen his films before.
And he's seen Roller Girl before in his films.
That's how he knew that Roller Girl was a porn actress.
Yeah. So that he was like a fan. But
in the end, after he was in one of his films and they didn't do really good at all and he didn't get no action, he just starts talk shitting mad fucking shit towards him and Roller Girl. In the end, he got his ass beat.
Yeah, he got his ass beat by both Jack and Roller Girl, because first Jack goes after him and he beats him on the street. And Roller Girl, after Jack is done, Roller Girl rolls up to him and she beats him with his roller skates. Now, these are like 1970s roller skates, so
they're not safe at all.
Yeah.
You could die from them, but unfortunately, the guy...
Made with heavy plastic and heavy metal? Damn.
Yeah.
So she has sort of like a cathartic moment at the end of that scene where she gets revenge on this loser guy who made fun of her all these years ago. And it's a very intense scene. This movie has like a lot of intense scenes. Also around the same time in this part of the movie, Jack and Dirk Diggler have a falling out. So once the 80s come around, Jack is also looking for new talent to put in the movies. And this sort of causes a jealousy for Dirk Diggler, because before, during the 70s, he was like a big star. He was like the most popular porno actor of that time. And he was starring in all these movies. The movies were successful. He was winning a lot of awards. And this is sort of like the part of the movie where like it's all fun. It's kind of like in Goodfellas, like how like in Goodfellas when we were learning more about like the things that the mafia did and all the heists and all the crimes that they commit and how much money they would get.
Yeah, it was all fun in the beginning. And then it goes to shit when the 80s starts rolling in. Because once this new blood comes in, being the new star, Doug Taylor got jealous because at that time he wasn't really performing well.
Well, he wasn't performing well because at this time he also gets addicted to drugs like cocaine. Which affects his body, which affects, his most important part. He can't perform in the films, and it takes him forever to get an erection. And so because of Dirk Diggler's addiction to cocaine, he's not able to perform in these movies, and so he becomes resentful. And he becomes so resentful to the point that that during one day when they're going to shoot at Jack's house, he has a hard time getting again, getting up to perform. And once he's ready, he goes to Jack and tells him, "Hey, Jack, I'm ready. Let's do the scene." And Jack is like, "No, no, no, 20 minutes. Give me 20 minutes." And he's like, "No, I got to perform now. I got to perform now because we can see like his insecurity. He has like a lot of insecurities bubbling up because he knows that once he loses his erection, he's not going to be able to get it back again until much later." And so he gets into a big fight with Jack. They even like throw punches at each other, and their relationship is like ruined.
It's been stained.
Exactly. And
so it just goes off of them going to the separate paths. There's even a scene where all three different characters we saw that after they retired from acting in that programming scenes, they all tried to live their own normal lives, trying to start up businesses, trying to recreate, fix their mistakes from their younghood.
So what happened? Yeah.
And then after a while, we get to a scene where he's still in drugs. He's still with this guy that introduced him into drugs. And then when they were doing a job, after finishing giving the drugs, they wanted to leave. They just wanted to leave, but this guy wanted to take something more, though that.
Oh, let's not get too ahead of ourselves there.
I know, but I'm just saying, after that whole scene, it failed in comparison, and then he went back to reconcile, and he starts trying to get better.
Yeah. So after the fallout, when the crew gets broken up, we see the characters split off into their own lives. So we see Jack, having to switch from film to videotape. But also one of the important things why he switches over from film to videotape is because there's this one character who's introduced in the first half of the movie called the Colonel. The Colonel is the person who finances the movies.
He was the one who gives the money to be able doing the sex scenes.
Yeah.
And because of a certain thing happened with the Colonel and got himself arrested, he's not able to help them no more.
Yeah, so the Colonel gets arrested in one scene, and he admits to Jack that he got arrested for some pretty heavy stuff. And so this causes Jack to lose faith in sort of like his father figure, because the Colonel was kind of like Jack's father figure in a sense. So in this movie we sort of see both Jack lose his father figure and then him losing his connection with like his quote unquote adopted son in a sense, because Eddie is sort of like Dirk Diggler is sort of like his son in a way.
So basically they all lost their father figures that day.
Yeah. And yeah, so because he doesn't have like the support of the Colonel anymore, financing his films, he has to resort to videotape, and he's miserable because he hates the format. And then there's this other character, and the character we mentioned earlier, Buck Swope, Don Cheadle. He decides to retire and to open up his own stereo store. He's gonna sell stereo systems and open up his own store. But because of his past working as an actor for Jack, he gets denied a loan from the bank, and he's not able to get the money to open up his store. While at the same time, he forms a relationship with another former actress who used to work on the films. And at this point in the movie, both of them are expecting their first child.
Which is fantastic news, because they're moving on. They no longer want that kind of job no more.
Yeah, and so both of them are, he's looking to get a loan from the bank to open up his store, while at the same time he has a wife with a baby on the way. And so the pressure is on for him to create a life for his new family. But because of his involvement in pornography, the bank just refuses to give him any money. And it's and that scene where he gets refused a loan it's a very sad scene, because that he's trying his best, his hardest to provide a life for his family, but this bank, just because he was in these movies long ago, well, maybe not long ago, but like years ago, they just won't give him a chance.
Like they physically deny him getting a loan, even though at his business that involves nothing about it.
Yeah. He's opening a stereo store, not a porn store.
Exactly. So they went against him, saying like, sorry, we cannot provide you any of any loan for your sex scenes. So like, we're not doing sex scenes. We're doing a stereo store, sir.
Yeah.
I have the documents here and everything, and he explains to them that if there's something wrong that he didn't sign correctly or didn't bring in, he can come in another day. But they keep mentioning his acting scenes, like we cannot give you loan for this sex scenes, or we cannot loan you money for having acts of inappropriacy.
Yeah.
And like what the hell? He's not
very
even talking
unfair.
about that no more. He's not even in that. He wants a stereo store.
Yeah, it's very unfair, and I think also the writer Paul Thomas Anderson and the director, they included this scene to sort of show what were the kind of things that former porn actors who were retired, what were the some of the things that they went through, because a lot of them couldn't really adapt to normal society, or were able to find like a job that wasn't like in that kind of world. Because also Eddie, Dirk Diggler, and his best friend Reed are also trying to start a music career after they break off with Jack. And
it didn't really end that well.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't really end that well. Well, it didn't really start well to begin with, because we get this scene where Mark Wahlberg, who plays Dirk Diggler, he's in the recording studio and he's singing this song, "The Touch," and he sings it very poorly. And and nobody can tell him, nobody has the heart to tell him that he's a bad singer, and which is actually pretty impressive, because before Mark Wahlberg was an actor, he was a singer.
Oh yeah, you told me about that. He was actually a really good singer. You told me once.
Well, he was a popular singer. He had his own band called Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch.
Funky Bunch.
Yeah, and he had a name. And he had a hit song called "Good Vibrations," which made him very popular in the music world. But it's funny to see that a professional musician, now an actor, is acting. He's able to pull off like the bad singing, because you would think that he would know how to at least carry a tune. But yeah, so we see how like Eddie and Reed fail during their time trying to be aspiring musicians, because they also have a scene where they get denied their opportunity to like move on from like the porno stuff, because there's a scene at the record studio where they're arguing with the owner of the studio, because they haven't paid them for their tapes, the tapes that they recorded, and they need the tapes so that they can take them to a record company so that they can get a record deal, and then they will be able to pay off the studio. And it's also kind of like a funny scene, because both Eddie and Reed are going back and forth with the studio owner, and he's like, "Give me the money and I'll give you the tapes," and they're like, "We need the tapes to get a record deal, then we can pay you," and it's just like a back and forth.
Yeah.
And actually, fun fact about that scene was completely improvised by the characters.
Really? I thought it was scripted.
No, it was actually improvised, because so the guy who plays the studio manager, he's played by a director named Robert Downey Sr., who is Robert Downey Jr.'s dad. So Robert Downey Jr.'s dad was a director in the 70s, and he was known to improvise a lot of his movies. So this was kind of like, I guess this was kind of like a tribute to that director, because when he made movies, he would do a lot of improv. And so I guess the one scene where he has a cameo, he also does improv for the one scene that he's in.
Well, to be honest, it was all good. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it was. That scene was very well acted, because you really feel the frustration in both John C. Reilly and Mark Wahlberg as they're trying to argue with him. And yeah, it's a really good scene. Another character who also goes through a tough time is the character Amber Waves, who is played by Julianne Moore. Amber Waves is Jack's sort of live-in girlfriend who lives at Jack's house and who's always with him. But she's also a porn actress, and we see her throughout the first half of the movie acting in a lot of in the porno movies. And she forms this weird kind of relationship with Dirk, almost like a mother-son kind of relationship, which
is weird, because they're having
having relations.
Yeah, they're having relations.
But
Like,
but in a weird way, she's almost replacing her real son for Dirk, because before she became involved like in all this porno stuff, she was a mother. She was married to a guy, and and both of them had a son. And but because she's involved with pornography, the dad refuses to let her see her son, and this fucks her up because she's now going into drugs. She's trying to find a love from somewhere, from other people, instead of going to find her son. And it all
wait, isn't there one scene where the son actually called her?
Yeah, so
but she wasn't there.
So during the pool party at Jack's house early on, there was a scene where some characters were having a conversation, and the phone rings. They pick up the phone, and it's Amber Waves' son. He's looking for her to talk to her, but they're not able to find her because she's busy snorting coke. And because she's snorting coke, she's not able to like pay attention. But also at the same time, she's looking out through the door, and she sees Eddie, Dirk Diggler, jump into the pool, and he's jumping in slow motion, signifying that she's developing feelings for this new kid in this who she just got introduced to.
Yeah, and well, how they did it was he was hot, so she could not resist that young bod.
Yeah, and again, it is so weird seeing like a young Mark Wahlberg, because he definitely does not look the same as he does now. Now he looks more like an older man, because we talked about the Uncharted movie, because in Uncharted he played Sullivan. So that's probably like the most recent thing that he's done. He played Sullivan, and in that movie he's a middle-aged man. And in here, I believe he was 25 years old when he played the role of Dirk Diggler, but also at the same time, he's playing someone between the ages of 17 and I think 21, 22, because I think the movie takes place within like 5 years, I believe, 5 or 4 years. So he's playing a very young character, and he's actually not a bad looking dude, if I have to say so myself. But Amber's sort of like big tragic scene is that there's a scene where she goes into a custody hearing with her ex-husband, and she gets denied custody or visitation because of her involvement in pornography. And at the end of that scene, there's a scene where she's crying outside of the courthouse, and then half of her face is covered in shadow, which is similar to another scene earlier on where there's this other character who professes his love to Dirk Diggler.
Oh my god, I forgot about him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So okay, let me put a little context before you continue on. Mm-hmm. So this character where he's mentioning is there's a character where he's on the producing of the sex scenes is him. Doing the audio. He's in charge of the audio, making sure they hear everything and everything. Mm-hmm. And the quip with him that he's gay. So when they first introduced Diggler, he fell in love with him. He's like, oh my god, I want him.
Even the camera doesn't zoom in. It closes its iris, and it just locks onto Dirk, sort of showing like he's falling in love with Dirk.
Exactly. So, and there is one scene where he wants to commit his love to him and just go out to him. And he set it up of telling Dirk Diggler to come on in front to see his car that he just recently bought like a couple hours ago. And he wasn't impressed him, and he went in for a kiss. He ruins it because Dirk Diggler didn't swing that way with him. Mm-hmm. And to make sure that his friendship with him wasn't ruined, he just said, I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit drunk.
Yeah, he lies to him, trying to patch things up by saying that he's drunk.
Really quick. Like, and Dirk Diggler like took it in and like, oh, okay then, just calm down, bro. Just be careful, don't drink too much. And like, yeah, sure, I'll see you later. Like, yeah, I'll see you later inside. And then he didn't go inside. He just went inside his car, start crying. Shadows. Half his face is all shadows, saying that I'm stupid. I'm stupid.
Half of his face is in shadow. He's crying. He's saying that he's an idiot, that he's stupid. Yeah. And it's very similar to the other scene where Amber is crying outside of the courthouse, where half of her face is also in shadow, just like him.
So yeah, there you go. That's a little concept of him.
Yeah, which So let's
Well, also
mhm,
let me mention one thing, which I really got like into this guy because not only that he was gay, but
mhm,
this actually happened to me during high school as well. I already talked to this to my co-host,
mhm,
saying that I was in a group of friends in high school, and I remember one guy that was gay asked me out, and I
mhm.
told him, "Sorry, bro, I don't swing that way, but I appreciate that you show your feelings towards me, but I'm sorry, but I can't go out with you because I don't swing that way." But and we came to
I
the
swing that
understand.
way.
Okay, and we got to a neutral benefit line that like okay, I that he's okay with it, and
Mhm.
I was like, all right, bro, you good? Like I'm sorry, but I hope the great endeavors towards him, and we were cool. We
So
were
you
all cool.
so you were the Dirk Diggler of that situation.
Yeah, basically, but I wasn't really that rude. How he was rude to him.
do do you have other things in common with Dirk Diggler?
No,
Okay. No, but that's actually interesting. It's interesting that scene spoke to you a lot.
yeah, because I saw how the bad way has
Hmm.
seen, but for me, I handled my situation very calmly and very
Yeah.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Mine was more calm, more in your face, like, hey, here's the deal. I appreciate it, but I don't swing that way. But him, he didn't even took it at all. I even criticized the guy that was acting as gay, saying that he should have asked if he was.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
because
find out if he was gay or not.
the tragedy of that scene is that it seems like he's like that character. His name is Scotty. It seems like he's very socially inept. So he can't. So it doesn't seem like he can really like read the situation. Like he should have found out if Dirk, was gay or at least bi before actually making the move. That could have saved him a lot of heartache.
Yeah, but
And
unfortunately,
yeah.
it didn't work out. But they were still good friends in the end.
But you know what's actually kind of weird about his character? After that scene, he really doesn't have like a major like scene afterwards. Cause he kind of sort of gets forgotten. Like we do see like
Yes, he does.
we
Like
do
we only see him
yeah.
like couple of scenes where he helps film a new commercial for the studio.
Or like he's in the background or he has like one line in the scene. He really kind of disappears from the movie after the scene.
It's kind of like that meme. They got me on the first half. Not gonna lie.
Mhm. And I think probably because he's not so much in the movie because I think a lot of scenes were cut out from the movie because originally Paul Thomas Anderson, the director, he wanted to make a 3-hour movie that was NC-17, but the studio really encouraged him to keep the movie under 3 hours and to also make it rated R, not NC-17, because that would just like not make the movie sell well. And so I guess there was just like a lot of deleted scenes. There was probably like more stuff with that character in it, but probably because he wasn't like the center of the story, it probably his scenes were probably not as important. And so let's talk about sort of like the final parts of the movie. So we mentioned before that Roller Girl and Jack get into this situation in a limousine, but also that same scene or that same night, there's actually two other incidents that happen around the same time. So around the same time, like down the street from where Jack and Roller Girl have their situation, Dirk Diggler, desperate for money, high on coke, he's in the parking lot and he's sort of like prostituting himself. And so he gets
Oh yeah, okay. Then he goes to an empty parking lot, tells
Mhm.
them what he wants. Is like I want you to start jerking
Yeah,
off.
he gets picked up by a guy in a pickup truck and he's gonna jack off for this guy and the guy's gonna pay him.
Yeah, because he was in his all time low.
Yeah, and
And he even asked him, like, you know who I am? Like, he's some hot shit.
yeah, and the
And the
guy's
guy
like,
just says,
no.
no. And like, I used to be Duck Diggler.
Yeah, he's a Dirk Diggler, but no, the guy doesn't know him at all. But the scene goes from uncomfortable to much worse because Dirk, again, because of the drugs, he can't perform. And so the guy gets mad at him, but also at the same time, he has some buddies pull up. They drag Dirk out of the truck and they beat the shit out of him.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they rob him
And
too.
just robbed him and took all the money he had, which
Yeah,
he didn't
what-
have that much on him anyways.
Yeah, whatever money he had in his pocket, they just took it from him and they beat him. And also at the same time, Buck, after being rejected by the bank, he is with his pregnant wife and they're gonna go pick up some donuts. And so Buck goes into the donut shop and he starts ordering his donuts. And it seems like a very nice kind of scene because, we see Buck being, very kind of like, kind of happy, kind of jovial. He's having a good conversation with the donut guy because he sees like these Christmas themed donuts. And he's like, oh, are you guys doing this for Christmas? Let me get some of those. But as he's ordering his donuts, a kid comes in with a gun and he starts holding up the donut shop.
Oh yes, and then there's one guy that's sitting there, and you
what was
he again?
He was like an NRA type guy,
he was really
like a gun nut.
Yeah, gun nut. And the guy literally told him, don't do that, because the guy in the seat just took out his gun, clocked it up, aimed at his head, and the guy was. And
he shoots the robber.
Yeah, shoots the robber. The robber shoots him, and the guy shoots the cashier.
Yeah,
and they're just him just standing his up, all he's and just about.
And Buck is just standing there with his hands up, shaking, traumatized.
But Buck was wearing all white, so all the red just went on his white shirt.
Yeah.
And it was like there, and he saw the whole scene, and my co-host literally said, "Dude, you're a black guy in a crime scene. In a crime scene. You should leave before you get arrested for no reason." And so before he leaves, he saw like the bag of money that Cook took from him.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought to himself, like, if I take this money, I can get my studio, my record shop.
Yeah.
So he did that. He took it and left.
Yeah. So he takes the money, and with that money, he uses it to open up his record store. It was a pretty good scene. I actually liked that scene like quite a bit. So in that situation between Roller Girl, Jack, Dirk, Buck is the one who comes out on top.
Yeah.
Throughout that scene. Which is actually very interesting that Paul Thomas Anderson decided to set those scenes all in the same night, because in his next movie, a movie called Magnolia, the whole movie takes place all in one day, similar to like that scene, but much bigger, much longer. So like the climax of the movie is this very intense drug deal, which features the characters Dirk Diggler, his best friend Reed, and this other character that we haven't really talked a lot about named Todd, who is also a friend of Reed. Yeah,
the reason why we didn't mention this character is because he only shows up like for a few scenes. Yeah, that's it. So that's
he's a minor character.
Yeah, he's a very minor character, so that's why we don't mention him at all.
Mm-hmm.
But in this scene, that's where he was like in the scene like for a very long period of time. So that is his only one part of this movie where he's actually like a character.
This is his big scene. Yeah. So around this time of the movie, Dirk, Reed, and Todd are all like they're at their lowest. They have no money. Dirk lost his house. His car is destroyed. And their music dreams failed. So what they're gonna do is Todd comes up with a plan to fill up a bag full of baking soda, disguise it as cocaine, and sell it to a drug dealer for $5,000, and they'll split the $5,000 between the three of them to at least get some money for themselves. So they go to this drug dealer's house, and this drug dealer, and it's a very intense scene.
Because the house they go to is very packed. It has security guard.
Yeah, it has a gate.
Gate. It has this Chinese guy that was popping firecrackers for no reason, scaring the shit out of them, thinking it was gunshots.
The security guard has a machine gun strapped to like under his arm.
Yeah, like it was a very tense scene. Like, if you fuck up somehow, you're gonna die. If they find out the drugs are not real, you're gonna die. If you even make them mad, you're gonna die.
Yeah, and also like the drug dealer, the guy who's played by Alfred Molina, who you guys might know as Dr. Octopus from the Spider-Man movies.
This is the guy they went to sell the drugs.
Yeah, and he's also acting very coked up, so you can tell that he's very high and very like unstable. So you make the wrong move, you're not leaving that house alive. And so they give the drugs to the drug dealer. He gives them to his bodyguard to inspect them. But at the same time, you mentioned that there was there's like an Asian guy walking around the house throwing firecrackers. The reason why he's in that scene is so the actors in the scene, John C. Reilly and Mark Wahlberg, they don't know when the firecracker is going to go off. So that's sort of meant to like surprise them and put them on edge, because they don't know. It's supposed to startle them as they're delivering their lines. The situation goes wrong. It's also, you know what also makes the scene very tense is the choice of music, because the music playing in the scene is playing very loud from a stereo, and it's playing like, you know, like these 80s songs. You're motoring. What's your price for flight?
Yeah,
and it just creates all this tense, like nervous energy in the room.
Yeah, for me, I really felt it, because I was like, okay, when is gonna happen?
Yeah.
Like, when is shit gonna go down?
Yeah, because sometimes, like, because it's one of those situations where, like, you get into a bad situation with somebody, and you know that if you make the wrong move, things are gonna go badly, and you just like want to get the hell out of there. And that's the kind of like energy and performance that John C. Reilly and Mark Wahlberg were giving. They were like, "Oh, come on, we got to get out of here."
Like,
Todd,
they
let's
wanted
get
to
out.
leave. Like, in the first place, they already got the money and they wanted to leave. But the third guy wanted to stay to take something else.
Yeah,
more.
because he wanted to rob the drug dealer. You know, he wanted to rob him for more drugs and more money. He wanted to rob his safe, so he was gonna hold them up. But like the thing is like, you know, Dirk and Reed don't have guns. Todd is the only one who has a gun.
Oh yeah, because in the scene when they were walking up to the house, the guy's like, "All right, just in case." They're like, "Wait, did you bring a gun?" They're like, "No, I didn't bring a gun." So basically, they were hell scared out of their mind because they thought they were supposed to bring a gun to protect themselves. But this guy just brought the gun up because he had a different plan than just protecting himself.
Yeah. So they're outgunned. They're in a house that's hard to get out of, and the bodyguard, he's strapped. He has so many guns on him. Like when finally shit goes down, he pulls out 2 guns and starts shooting. So they're basically in like the worst situation that they could be in. And so Todd refuses to leave. He starts threatening the drug dealer. The drug dealer goes into his room and gets the shotgun. Todd starts shooting. He kills the bodyguard. And then because he's being a dumbass, Todd gets like shot in the stomach with the shotgun. So he's fucking dead.
Yeah. And in the end, the other 2 just left.
Yeah, they escaped.
There's a scene where Doug Diggler got in his car after a while, and I forgot. And his best friend went to another other direction. We thought that he already died. Like he got trapped somewhere and already like.
Yeah, both were able to escape, but Reed hopped the fence and he escaped through the houses, and Dirk Diggler he escaped with his car, but unfortunately his car ran out of gas. Yeah.
And because of no money, he couldn't do anything. And then we get to a scene where we saw him pushing his car.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is where he pushed his car towards, which was where, what's his name again? Jack. He pushed his car all the way towards Jack's place.
Yeah.
And that's when they reconcile with each other.
And it's actually a very interesting scene how Eddie / Dirk Diggler apologizes to Jack, because mostly throughout that scene we mostly see Mark Wahlberg, and the camera's kind of like over the shoulder of Jack. We only really see part of his body, but we don't see his face. So the camera is just focused on Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg is giving this really long apology and crying. And then once he's done with the apology, Jack moves forward and gives him like a hug. And so he forgives Eddie.
Yep.
But it's interesting that we never get like a cutaway so that we can see his reaction. Because even when the camera cuts away, Jack's face is kind of like on Eddie's shoulder, so we don't really see his face. And so after that, we sort of see like the aftermath, and after they reconcile, we see what happens to all the characters. First, we see Buck. Buck has opened up his own stereo store, and he sort of like adopted this sort of like hip hop guy persona, because in his commercial he has like break dancers, and he's wearing like an Adidas tracksuit like they wore in the 80s, and he was acting all hip hop. So I guess that's like his new identity. And also at the same time, Amber is the director directing his commercial, and she's using the same camera guy and Scotty to record the commercial. Yeah. And then we cut to Reed. Reed now is making a living as a magician. And so we see, because he has an interest in magic, he becomes a magician. And then we see the Colonel, who we haven't seen for like a long time in the movie. He's getting beat the fuck up by his cellmate. But then after we cut to Jack's house, and then we see kind of like everybody, still at Jack's house.
Yeah, everyone reconciles and get back together. And at one point, me and my co-host thought that his buddy just left him and don't want to talk to him no more. But when we saw the scene of him coming back together to perform
we see Reed
scene,
at the house as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I forgot whether or not Reed and Dirk reconciled. So because he's at Jack's house, so we could probably assume like everything's okay. But also, did you notice that one thing in hung up on Jack's wall as the camera's following him through the hallway?
It's the guy that shot himself.
Yeah, there's a portrait, there's a painting of Little Bill on the wall. And so the final scene, which is also a very iconic scene, is Mark Wahlberg as Dirk Diggler. He's facing a mirror and he's hyping himself up. He's saying like, I'm a star. And then finally, we actually get to see
that important asset everyone loved him for.
Exactly. And I think it's quite interesting that they don't let us see it until like the very end.
Yeah.
Because there's a scene during the pool party where Jack is introducing him to the Colonel, and the camera is on the Colonel's face, and he looks down and he's smiling. But we never get to see like what he's smiling at. So through that performance, we know like, oh, this is like a very special talent that he has.
And yes, and after I finally, because I came two to two together and knew what they were talking about, I even showed my co-host a meme of why girls like that certain thing that the guy was liked, and he knows what I'm talking about because I showed him in the middle of the movie. I told him to pause it I could show it to him, and they show a scale going up to the lady's privates all the way towards her chest, and it says, "Okay, good, pleasurable, wet, pregnant, daddy, and harder." And I showed to him like, "This is the reason why," and he's like, "Oh my god, why? Like that's disgusting." Like, I know, but it's a meme. Somehow it just became popular. Yeah. And I told him like, here's what it looks like. This is what I'm referencing. And he's even like, okay, why?
Yeah. But before we wrap this up, I do have some bit of notes that I have to mention about this film. So this film actually, you remember the character Jack, played by Burt Reynolds.
Yes.
So he's a very important character in the movie, and it's actually really amazing that they were able to get Burt Reynolds to be part of this movie, because this movie takes place a lot in the 70s, and Burt Reynolds was a big movie star in the 1970s. He was popular for being in movies like Deliverance, Smokey and the Bandit, and Cannonball Run. But after the 80s came along, his career started to slow down. And so he got offered this role to play the porn producer. But unfortunately, Burt Reynolds was very hesitant to join the movie because he didn't want to make a movie promoting the pornography industry. And even though he never really changed his mind about the movie, he still made the movie on the insistence of his agent, because his agent encouraged him to make this movie because he thought it was going to revitalize his career, because at that point his career had really slowed down at that point.
It went downhill, basically.
Yeah, and so he made the movie, but he never got along with the director, Paul Thomas Anderson. Like, they even got into a fist fight over an argument that they both had over the movie. It's sort of similar to like that one scene in the 80s where Dirk and Jack are having a fight. So if you can imagine that, but instead of Dirk, it's the director Paul Thomas Anderson. It's sort of like that. And so Burt Reynolds never really like embraced this movie. When the movie came out, he never went to the talk shows to do any interviews for it, even though he was nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, and he won a Golden Globe for his role as Jack. So he really never embraced this movie as like one of his like best, because also to him, he felt that he was letting down his fans by doing this movie. But like the weird thing is like this is kind of considered like his best movie.
Really? Even though he considered it to be the most terrible movie ever.
Yeah, well,
My God.
this is what like a lot of critics and a lot of his fans think is his best role because he really played a complex character in this movie. Because he's playing like this sort of father figure, but he's also like a guy doing pornography. So he plays a very complex character, and I think he did a really good job in the movie. And it's so sad that even after his death, he never really quite embraced the movie, the way that he should have. And he ended up firing his agent for encouraging him to like take the movie, which is really sad. Um,
Wow, really?
yeah, another thing that's interesting about this movie is that this movie sort of came out at the right time like at the right place at the right time uh because this movie I don't think it would be even made today because I don't think a lot of people are interested to make a movie about like the porn industry.
Well,
Um,
because of course, who would
yeah.
want to? Because they had to show a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and that was a big thing for the studio. The studio that released this was New Line Cinema, and if you guys remember who the studio New Line Cinema, they were responsible for like Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, Lord of the Rings, the Austin Powers movies. So they were a pretty big studio in the 1990s. But also in the 1990s, there was also like a big trend of movies like indie movies or independent movies that were directed by visionary directors. So a lot of directors around this time, like David Fincher and Quentin Tarantino, were starting to make their movies, and these movies got like a lot of box office and a lot of critical praise. So a lot of studios were looking to start greenlighting movies made by interesting directors. And so this movie was greenlighted by New Line Cinema, who at the time were having a really good couple of years, because in 1994 they released Dumb and Dumber and The Mask, both starring Jim Carrey, and both of them were big box office successes. And then the year after, 1995, they released this movie called Seven, starring Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and directed by David Fincher. And that was also a big commercial success and a critical success. So New Line Cinema was looking to replicate that success with Boogie Nights. So they were hoping for like an Oscar-winning movie, which they kind of did, even though it didn't win like a lot of Oscars and a lot of awards. It was a very critically praised movie, and the movie didn't do bad. Like I think the movie made over $40 million at the box office at the time. And I think I think the movie was made for like over $15 million. So it made its money back. And, with like DVD and VHS and now iTunes and all that stuff, it's probably made that money. It's probably made a profit like more times over. But like I mentioned before, the studio was really worried that the movie was going to have too much sex and it was going to be way too long.
Well, it didn't have that much sex at all.
Not really, because even in the scene where we see them filming the porno, like with Dirk Diggler and Amber, like a lot of it is in close-ups. Like we don't see it like the same way that like a porn film is shot. It's a lot of close-ups of their face, maybe like a close-up of like his abs or her nipple, or like his reaction shots. Like we see like the reactions of everybody. We even see like a scene where like Reed is like leaning over his head to get a better look at Dirk's, his equipment. So they were really worried about sex, because also a few years before, there was a movie called Showgirls. Have you ever heard of this movie called Showgirls?
No, I have not.
So this movie called Showgirls was a movie about Las Vegas strippers, which is considered like one of the worst movies ever made, and one of the biggest box office disasters ever, because I think they spent over $50 million to produce the movie. And the movie bombed, and the movie had like a lot of nudity and a lot of sex.
Wow, okay.
And so a movie like Boogie Nights would have scared a lot of like studios, which is true, because only New Line Cinema wanted to make the movie. And also they were worried that Paul Thomas Anderson was going to make the movie over 3 hours, and they didn't want that. But they made a compromise where the movie ended up coming out only at 2.5 hours long. So that was like, a good compromise, I think, because I think they were able to tell the story that they wanted to tell. Because really, there's not a lot of sex at the later half of the movie as much as it was in the first half.
Yeah.
And then also, Also, a couple other things. I already mentioned
Chicken
that.
nuggets, guys. As while we're waiting for my co-host, I want to talk about a very big thing.
Okay. What?
Chicken nuggets. They're delicious.
Oh my God,
Always
shut up.
get chicken nuggets. They're very delicious.
I
And
also
stay away from pickles.
fuck you. I also I also appreciate the fact that the movie, so when they're shooting the porno and we actually see examples of the kind of porno that they're shooting it in the right kind of format. Because the movie, like in the real world of the movie, it's being shot in 35 millimeter, like the best, like we see that in the best quality possible at the time. But then when they're shooting the pornos, they're shooting in 16 millimeter, and you can tell that the quality is less than what's happening in real life.
Because it was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible production values. But they actually shoot the pornos the way that the pornos were shot, and we see that cool montage where Reed and Dirk are talking about the movies that they make, and we actually see their parts of their cop porno movie where like they're beating up guys and they're doing it like all wrong.
Oh my
and
God!
The graphics
no.
are so, and the graphics and the music are so cheesy.
I was cringing at that moment. I remember covering my face.
Yeah, because it's done.
God, that's so cringe.
Because it's done so effective. And also, one thing I forgot to mention about Dirk Diggler is so obsessed with like martial arts. He thinks he's like a karate master, and all the scenes in the movie, he's like doing like ha, hoo, ha.
He was going like, hoo-ha, I'm badass. I'm gonna punch you in the face and knock you out. Hoo-ha, here you.
Yeah, he's so into like martial arts, even though like all he does is like the most basic moves. Yeah. So, but also, I do commend them for like when they shot like the VHS footage. They actually shot it with VHS, and you actually got to see how worse of a quality the movies were, and so you really got to see why Jack hated those movies. Also another thing, and also the acting, that when they're acting in the pornos, they actually act the way that, porn stars would act back then. They're going, not, but also it's the acting. The acting is like, there's a scene where like Amber looks up at Dirk and she says, "This is a really big cock," but she says it in like that weird stilted way.
So like, oh, that's a very big cock.
Yeah, but they're acting like in a bad porno movie. So like, it's really fun seeing like these professional Hollywood actors act, in a fake porno movie. Like they're trying to mimic the bad acting of a porno movie. All right, wait, hold on.
Let me give you a good scene. Like here you go. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna do this right to you. Oh, you got a very big bag cock.
Stop. I'm gonna go over there and I'm gonna slap the shit out of you if you don't stop.
Hello, Daddy.
Would you fucking stop?
I have some pipes.
I'm gonna throw my fucking shoe at you.
I have some pipes that needs fixing. Can you fix my pipes with your rod? He's actually tossing me shit.
Stop that fucking shit. Stop it.
I'm sorry. I have to give you.
You fucking shithead.
I'm sorry. I had to give an image to the fans. I have to.
I fucking hate you.
I'm sorry. I had to give the comedic effect. Come on. That's why I'm here.
2 last bits of fun trivia. So Paul Thomas Anderson was so worried that the studio was going to change the title of the movie that...
Really? What was going to be changed?
I don't know, but that was a fear of his. He felt that they were going to change the title of the movie. So in the first shot of the movie, the first shot is the sign of the nightclub.
All right. Yeah.
And the nightclub says Boogie Nights.
Okay. Yep. That's the movie's name.
But he included it in the first shot of the movie. That because he thought that if he included the name of the movie in the first shot, that the studio couldn't change the name of the movie because it's already included in the title.
All right, that's very smart of him.
And then the last part is that that Dirk Diggler, when they reveal his his package, that's actually not Mark Wahlberg's actual package.
It's actually fake.
It's fake. It's like a dildo.
Yes, but not erect.
And he got to keep it.
Really?
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg kept that prosthetic. And I think in a recent interview he says that it was made with such cheap material that it's starting to deteriorate.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy crap! So he has to like somewhere in his house, probably cage in something, and
Mhm.
every time he sees it of his first ever movie he was in, he just sees it like, wow, I could see you in your heyday, and you're not aging well.
Yeah, but also at the same time, Mark Wahlberg doesn't really talk about this movie all that much anymore because I
Why?
think
Is it because he has a lot of other movies that are more better,
no, I
or
think
that he was embarrassed of it?
no, I think personally, I think this is his best movie because I don't think I've ever liked him in any other movie as much as I did in Boogie Nights. I think his problem is that in the recent years he's become a little bit more conservative and religious. I think he's a Catholic, and because he thinks of himself as a man of God, he doesn't really talk about this movie all that often. Even though
Ah,
even though
gotcha.
most of his other movies are pretty fucking violent. So I guess he has more of a problem with sex than violence.
I see. So a man that doesn't like sex is a man of God, but he likes violence instead. So in my theory, every time he goes into violent movies, he say, "I'm doing this for God. God is guiding my hand to kill you.
No, I'm
Do
doing
you
this. I'm doing
accept
this to buy my 5th mansion.
my fifth dimension?" Imagine that. Like imagine a movie star just goes there like, "Ah, yes, I accept this movie. All right, cool. Here's the money we're gonna give you. Cool. This will be enough to buy my 5th or 20th mansion."
All right, so let's start wrapping it up. So let's give our final thoughts.
10
So,
out of 10. I love it.
yep, yep, maybe not a 10 out of 10, maybe more of a 9 out of 10, but I really love the acting. Mark Wahlberg gives his best performance. All of the supporting actors, Don Cheadle, the Burt Reynolds, John C. Reilly, Julianne Moore, all of them give spectacular performances. The writing is so good. The story is very interesting. It's fun. It's dark. It's depressing. It's sad. It's exhilarating. You feel like so many different emotions. The camera work. Oh my god, that scene when they're at the party and the camera just follows them and it follows them into the pool. Fucking gorgeous. This movie is one of my favorites. You guys should check it out. It will not disappoint you. And yeah, 9 out of 10. Anything else that you want to say
Well,
about
for me,
Boogie
I didn't
Nights?
finish mine. 10 out of 10 for me because I learned a lot from this movie about the porn address, how the movie was working. I learned very, very much of it. I really got connected with the characters, and also because I love lore.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so much lore of how the characters were, how they grew, and how they ended
Mm-hmm.
in the end. I really love that. And so I really love this movie. And the reason why it's 10 out of 10 because I learned something new that I didn't know. And I learned that they used to do something that they don't do no more. And I learned very much more of the whole producing and how actors do in sex scenes because I thought in sex scenes in the movies they actually do it.
Hell
But
no.
that's what I thought because that's what I thought. Like, all right, they're doing a sex scene. They're actually doing because there were scenes where they showed that they're all butt ass naked. So that's what I thought at the time. But where I was watching this whole movie, I was told that no, that was not the actual thing. So I really love it because I learned everything. I learned a whole lot of new things. So it was 10 out of 10 for me because this is the movie where it taught me a lot of new stuff.
Yep, it's a really
and
good
also
movie.
experience different things about prostitution,
Oh
porn
my God.
artists, and how things are.
Well, yeah, it really doesn't shy away from showing the dark stuff of that kind of world.
Yep.
So yeah, so if you've seen Boogie Nights, definitely leave a comment down at the end of the episode. Also, big news, we are also now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Heck yeah, baby.
We also have a Patreon where I'll be releasing the brand new episodes early. So if you want to check us out earlier than most,
Be a member.
Be a member. Go subscribe to us. Also, check out my co-host's Twitch channel. What is your Twitch channel again?
Twitch/Dragon9074. Check me out. I stream every time I have a chance, but the days I am always streaming are on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
All right. Yeah. And I'll definitely leave links to all those on the description. Thank you for joining us. What is our next episode going to be?
Oh, I know I'm going to butcher this name because I'm not really good in
Just
pronouncing
do
long
it.
names. I don't want to. Nagasate Naruto.
All right.
Well, I'm gonna butcher it, but my co-host will have it right underneath what I just said. I'm very bad with names, guys. Don't hurt me.
All right. So if you want to join us for our discussion of that movie, please check us out. Oh yeah,
it's an anime, bro.
If you want to check us out for our discussion of that anime, please check us out on our next episode. Make sure to follow our social medias for any updates. We're on Twitter at Anime Match Cut Pod. We're also on TikTok on Anime Match Cut Podcast. We have a Reddit, and we're also on Letterboxd on animematchcutpodcast.com. And I'll leave all links to our social medias in the in the description.